Hello, my name is Lisa, and today we are going to discuss how to read a sewing pattern. Let's get started. So I've picked out my favorite sewing pattern, and I'm a beginning sewer, and I don't really know what I'm doing. Let's take a look at the back of the pattern and make sure that we have all the materials that we need to make this project successfully. Here's the pattern I've chosen. It's a McCall's pattern, and the pattern number is 8512. You'll notice on the front of the pattern, it says that this particular pattern is a miss size 8, and the bust is 31.5. Let's take a look at the back of the pattern because that could be a little bit deceiving. For example, this particular pattern, 8512 of McCall's, says that according to these size measurements, these are the body measurements. So if I'm normally wearing a size 12 garment, if I go to a regular store, my bust would be 34, my waist 36.5, my hips 36, and my back to waist length is 16.25. That may not match what your typical size 12 that you pick up at the store is. You need to make sure that you choose the pattern that's correct for your body measurement. That's the first thing. So let's take a look at this back flap. There's a lot of information here and it can be quite overwhelming. The first thing we see at the top is a brief description of what this packet includes. So in this case, it's a jacket and a dress, and it's an unlined waist-length jacket with a shawl collar, and we have long or short sleeves with a gathered cap and shoulder pads. Already from this pattern description, we know that this pattern is going to contain pieces that we may or may not need, depending upon the style of dress that we would like to create. So let's take a look again at the front of this packet. We have several choices here. We could make this jacket with no sleeves or sleeveless jacket. We could make this same dress, same closure, same length, but now with a short capped sleeve, or what they're showing us over here is the same jacket or the same dress, but now we've got the jacket over top. So now let's flip the pattern back over and see what the pattern pieces show us on the bottom. So down here at the very bottom, I see a pictorial description of what is included in this packet. It says I've got 14 pattern pieces. I've got my jacket with my long sleeves. I've got my jacket with my short cap sleeves. I've got my dress with my short cap sleeves, and I've got my sleeveless version of the dress. And each of those is going to require a different amount of fabric and notions. When I'm approaching a pattern, the very first thing I do is get a piece of scrap paper and I jot down what style of dress from the pattern I would like to make, and if it has any associated numbers or letters, write those down as well. So for example, if I'm looking at view A of a particular dress, then I'll write down all of the notions and fabric and interfacing or lining requirements that I see for that particular dress. This one doesn't have letter distinctions. It simply gives us different descriptions for each of the jackets. Say I want to make a short sleeved jacket and a short capped sleeved dress. So down here, I'm going to look for my jacket with my short sleeves. Here's long sleeves. Here's my jacket for my short sleeves. Now I see a series of numbers, 44, 45, and then a bunch of asterisks, and 58-60 inches with a bunch of asterisks. Oh no, here we go again. So fabric comes in different widths. If you've ever shopped at Joann or your local Hancock Fabrics, you'll see that fabric typically comes in 44-inch widths for quilting fabrics, but up to 60-inch widths, or sometimes even up to 108 for quilting backing fabrics. Each fabric comes on its own bolt, and on that bolt will be somewhere written how wide that fabric is. This is important because my cutting layout is going to be different depending upon how wide my fabric is. So for this jacket with the short sleeves, if I'm making my size, let's say we're going to make a size 12. So I'm going to follow down my size 12 column, my jacket with my short sleeves. The fabric I'm looking at on my bolt at the store is a 44-inch fabric. So I'm going to follow 44 inches across, and I'm going to look over here at size 12. And that tells me that for this jacket, I am going to need 1.5 yards of fabric. You'll see the equivalent in centimeters and meters over here on this side. The asterisk next to the jacket refers to the nap of a fabric. Say I'm making a jacket and I'd like my jacket to be suede. Ooh, la la. Well, my suede has a natural nap. In other words, if I brush my hand down the fabric one direction, it'll change color if I brush it the opposite direction. That indicates a nap of fabric. Things like velvet has a nap, suede has a nap. If your fabric has a nap, your yardage requirements might be different because you will need to cut it out slightly differently as we're laying out the pattern pieces. So that's indicated by these asterisks. Down here, I can see a translation of the asterisk. Here it says with nap, 2 asterisks is without nap, 3 asterisks is with or without nap. So my yardage requirement for my short sleeve jacket size 12 is going to be the same whether it's with or without a nap. I still need 1.5 yards. Now, before I go down to the dress requirements, I see another box. Oh no. This jacket says long or short sleeve. So here I am. I need my short sleeve, but I also need this box. It says I need interfacing, 25 inches, woven or non-woven, fusible or non-fusible, 3/4 yard. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of information right there. Interfacing is a stabilizing fabric, and it's used often for collars and cuffs or the fronts of jackets to give a little stiffness and body. There are several types of interfacing. There's woven and non-woven interfacing. Interfacing as far as how you put that interfacing in the garment. Some is called sew in, which means that you literally sew it in as in a flat lining with your fashion fabric. Or there's a fusible interfacing in which you bond one side of the interfacing has a heat activated or steam activated glue, and you use your steam iron to press that interfacing so that it becomes bonded to your fabric. So this jacket requirement says that I need 3/4 yard of, doesn't matter, fusible or non-fusible, woven or non-woven, depending upon how I want to put it in. If given the opportunity, I typically choose fusible interfacing. I find it a little bit easier to work with, but that's completely up to you. Most interfacing comes anywhere from 22 to 28 inches wide. And again, if it's a fusible interfacing, you have to be careful about how you cut it out because the glue is only on one side of the interfacing because you wouldn't want both sides of that to be sticky. So there's my jacket requirement. I need 1.5 yards of my fashion fabric, and I also need 3/4 yard of my interfacing just for my jacket. Now, before I leave my jacket requirements, I'm going to slide down here to where it says suggested fabrics. Here's my jacket and my dress. I get some recommendations from the manufacturer on what types of fabrics would be best suited for this particular pattern. It says for my jacket and my dress, I might like cotton or cotton blends, crepe, damask lightweight linen, or several different. Okay, so look at this. Now my jacket says, oh, I could also use a wool crepe. Oh, but this is very important. What it's not suitable for. It's not suitable for diagonals or stripes. That typically has to do with how the pattern is laid out on the cutting diagram. So you could see down here, if my fabric had a directional diagonal, then all of my diagonal stripes would be one direction because the back is all one piece. In other words, if a back was 2 pieces, then I might have a nice nifty chevron that I could create with my diagonals. But this pattern, because of the way that the pieces are laid out and the pieces are designed, is not suited for diagonals or striping fabric. One more thing that I need to look at before I leave my jacket. down here, my little box says notions, and it tells me that, of course, I need thread for my machine that's going to be in a matching or coordinating with my fashion fabric. But also in bold print here, it says that I need 3/8 of an inch thick shoulder pads. Oh, there is nothing worse than coming home with my fabric, with my interfacing, with my thread, and then realizing that I still don't have all the materials that I need to make my pattern. So I'm going to read this back flap completely. I'm going to get my fashion fabric, but I'm also going to get any lining or interfacing. I'm also going to get my thread, and here I'm going to get my shoulder pads, seam binding or flex lace for finishing my seams. And I think that's all I need for my jacket. You'll notice down here it also has indications of what I need for my dress. So if I make my dress also, now again, I'd have to go back to my pattern. Do I want a short sleeve or a sleeveless dress? If I decide I want a short sleeve dress, here it is for size 12. At my fabric at 44 or 45 inches wide, I need 4 1/8 yards of my fashion fabric for that. But here I also will need, for my short sleeves or my sleeveless, I need 5/8 of a yard of interfacing, fusible or non-fusible interfacing. And then down here, I can also see that for that dress, I'm also going to need a 12-inch zipper, and I'm also going to need 4 3/8 inch buttons. And it says I can optionally purchase a belt. So today we've talked about how to read and disseminate all the information that's printed on the back of this pattern so we could have everything that we need when we sit down to sew. If you feel like you've missed anything, please feel free to rewind this video and re-watch it as many times as you need. To dive even further into sewing, be sure to hop onto a live class, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.